Smith, but he was accurate, and he didn't put his defense in a bad spot. He played complementary football perfectly. And that's the way he's always been in his career.
Right.
He plays complementary football. Even the year that he lost his job at Alabama, I think he had one interception. He just does not turn it over. He doesn't make those mistakes. And so, and when once he didn't turn it over, against Kansas City, I mean, he did the one time, but again, like I said, they already had gone out front. They were already leading in the football game. They played from ahead the entire game. And like I said, he just does a great job of getting rid of the football and not putting it in harm's way, and then running when he needs to. He's perfect for their football team because they have the best defense in football. They have the best running game in football. They've got the best offensive line by the best offensive line coach in the NFL, and Jeff Stoutland. He needs to keep it between the ditches, play efficiently. He does that perfectly, and that's why he's a Super Bowl champ. And he's actually, played really well in both the Super Bowls. He played certainly well enough to be MVP in the first one a couple years ago, but they lost a shootout. But this year, their defense was better.
Yep.
And that was the big key in the offseason besides getting Saquon. That's the reason they faltered down the stretch last year, Scott, where they ended up losing.
Well, they did a good job through the draft of drafting guys on that defensive side of the ball.
Your boy Cooper DeJean, who's the freakazoid from Iowa, he had the pick six.
By the way, basketball was his favorite sport in high school.
Oh, I'd already seen the highlights. I retweeted him again.
He wanted to play.
Freak, dude.
Basketball was his favorite sport. Now, he is from Iowa.
Is he 6'1"? How tall is he?
I think so.
I mean, but
basketball, he's got upslide.
He's got a friggin' 40-inch vertical leap, man.
Yes.
This white boy will dunk on you.
Basketball was his favorite sport. That was his number one sport coming out of high school was basketball.
Because somebody once again shared those highlights again. They shared them like when he got drafted, and then in the second round. But this time they shared them again. And you want to talk about some dudes getting like their eyes open, like he just drop stepped and like went baseline and hammered me on my face. I mean, he can do that. I mean. He's a great athlete.
Yes.
It was a great pick. And then you also do a great job with your undrafted free agents like a Reed Blankenship, who's been a really good player for 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
They've done a great job with their free agent signings. I talked about Becton. They've just done a tremendous job building their team. And now they've got a lot of them under contract. They've got the A.J. Brown situation. I think that thing extinguished for now. They will be able to keep him for at least a couple more years. They extended Smitty. Saquon looks great in this system. So they've got a chance this 3, 4, 5 year window to keep winning.
Yep.
And I mean, you got to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. But this is a really good football team. And to their credit, even when Jalen got the concussion late in the season, Kenny Pickett did a good job, former first-round pick of the Steelers. So they had a backup quarterback that was more than serviceable. This is just a really good football team. And right now, the Chiefs' biggest two issues, I think it's twofold with the Chiefs. I think they've got to improve their offensive line. Their offensive tackles were not good. They did not
even remember when
Mahomes.
they lost the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay, they were banged up, but the offensive line was not up to standard.
No, that's what Tom Brady talked about last night. And
by the way, I don't like Tom Brady. Listening to Tom Brady, there were moments that were okay, but there were.
I think he improved over the season, but I've told you he's no Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen should have never been demoted, and they're like paying him like $7 million less than they used to. It's really awful. But I will say this too: they've got to improve their offensive line, and then I'll just ask you this: they don't have a dude at wide receiver, man. They don't have a dude that you're like scared of. To me,
no.
Kelsey is a Hall of Fame player. We know that at tight end, but they need somebody. I mean, I don't think it's Hollywood Brown. I don't think it's the rest of their receiver core, except Worthy played well, okay, but he's a rookie that they dropped into their lap at the end of round one. They need. I mean, Nuke Hopkins got a touchdown late, but he's near the end.
He's about done.
Yes. He's about done.
Yes.
He's like Larry Fitzgerald. Julio Jones had a great career, but he's about done. They need to go out. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's not that dude. They need to go out, whether it's in the draft or a trade or free agency. They need to figure it out, find a number one receiver, man, because I don't really think they have one. So we'll see, what happens with that. But Mahomes is a magician. He absolutely is one of the, if not the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in football. But he needs some help, man.
Yep.
And they have a running back by committee. But what has happened to Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I thought a few years ago when he was a rookie that he was going to be special for them and have a chance. And he's just kind of fallen off the map.
Yeah, they got a lot of pieces. All right, let's get our break in. Because when we come back, we'll go inside the numbers. There's a little bit of numbers for the Super Bowl. We'll go over what of all some of these numbers and everything after yesterday. Plus, we will talk some college football and a lot of college basketball. We got to get to your phone calls. All that and more when Talking Ball returns live from Bill Penny Toyota Service Department.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
Hello, listeners. My name is Jonathan Dunwoody, and I'm at Minuteman Press. We are a full-service print shop that is locally owned and operated. I have personally been handling direct mail for over 17 years and have a great relationship with the USPS. We are the only print shop in the area that is listed as a print provider on their website and the only printing franchise that can use their logo as our partner on marketing materials. We can help from conception to design, print, and delivery to the post office. And with our easy, secure online payment option, you don't even need to leave your office. Minuteman Press, we're not just putting ink on paper, we're building relationships.
Long before winter weather approaches, the Alabama Department of Transportation prepares to maintain interstate and state roads that could be affected by snow and ice.
Yeah, we start training and doing maintenance on snow and ice equipment months in advance to make sure everything is ready for when the freezing weather comes. We will have crews working around the clock that are prepared to plow snow and remove trees that have fallen into the roadway.
Our mission is to keep roadways safe and open. We try to achieve this by focusing on interstate routes first and then secondary roadways by traffic volume.
If the weather allows, we'll start pre-treating the roadways during the day to prepare for the temperature drop at night.
AlDOT wants to keep the public informed during these winter weather events. The best way to learn about state road conditions is the ALGO app and through local media. Brought to you by AlDOT, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
This is Steve Moulton from 97.7 ESPN The Zone, and this is What's Happening. Be sure and download our app. Just search 977 ESPN in your Google Marketplace or your Apple Store, depending on your device, so you can take us wherever you might go. And you can also check out our latest zone deals. Head over to our website, 977ESPN.com. The top left banner reads, "Savings never tasted so good." Click on that, then enter in the Big Zone Deal store for half-off zone deals of Lawler's Barbecue, Sea Salt, Carrabba's Italian Grill, Bubby's Diner, Corlejos Mexican Grill, Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, Divergence, Full Moon Barbecue, Bigfoot Little Donuts, Apple Lane Farms, the Decatur location, an overnight stay at Gunnersville State Park, and rounds of golf at Cherokee Ridge Golf Course and Gunter's Landing. And that's what's happening.
I'm not seeing anything problem-wise this morning. Traffic level building quickly all across the valley. You be careful on your ride in. Right now, though, it looks pretty good. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Neck in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Listen to the Havoc Hour on Tuesdays live from Zambruski's upstairs at the Ice Sports Complex, the Huntsville Havoc's home away from home. And Havoc fans, you can earn reward points for attending. Presented by Stockton Mortgage.
In MLS 8259.
On 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, 7:21 on a Monday morning. We've been live from Bill Penny Toyota Service Department Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Just let them service your vehicles here at Bill Penny Toyota. 256-576-4977. That's the number of the phone lines. Let's visit with Mark from Spring Hill. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Mark.
Hey, morning, guys. How we doing?
We're
Good.
doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I know the Super Bowl was yesterday, and I want to get to the Florida beatdown of Auburn as well. I mean, I never thought that would happen, and that just shows you that.
Yeah.
That shows you. I mean, look, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, and I'm missing one.
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, my God, I've never seen 4 teams. I mean, that you probably could put those 4 and get the best players, and I may be off here a little, but maybe could play with some NBA teams, you know.
Well, let's not go that far.
But it is the best league in the country.
Yeah, best league in the country.
I know what you're saying, and I said it on another show this morning, Mark. It reminds me of the Big East in '85. The Big East got 3 of the Final 4. Georgetown lost to Villanova, as you know. Nova was an 8 seed, had already lost to Georgetown twice in the regular season, but they beat Georgetown that perfect game they played against Patrick Ewing and the boys who were number 1. And St. John's with Walter Berry and Chris Mullen was outstanding. That year, the Big East was just a meat grinder. And right now, the SEC is that way. You know, when this poll comes out later today, I think 4 of the top 5 are going to be from the SEC. I was already asked on that show how I would vote it. Personally, in my opinion, I would vote Alabama, Auburn, then, of course, Duke. And then it would be Florida and Tennessee. But personally, I think it's going to be Auburn, Alabama, and then Duke, and then Florida and Tennessee. But again, the league
is that because of what
tremendous.
Auburn had accomplished before the Florida game?
It's twofold. Auburn lost to a top 5 team at home, even though, like Mark said, they got whipped. There's no question about that.
And Bruce Pearl didn't back down from that, too.
Florida is really, really good. Okay,
Yes.
They've only lost 3 games themselves and split with Tennessee. But Alabama, they did beat Arkansas, but they didn't win by 20. They were up 20. They had to hold on. Arkansas is unranked, though. It's a completely different Arkansas team than from a week and a half ago because Arkansas was coming off road wins against Kentucky and Texas. It was a zoo. Alabama held on to win. Personally, that's why I think Alabama should be number 1. But I think because of but we all say this. I wasn't expecting Auburn to lose or Duke, even though I knew Clemson was good. Okay.
Yes.
I thought if Duke had won, then Duke would be number 1 because they beat Auburn.
Gone on the road,
but they lost.
Yes.
And so there you go. And so everybody, lost but Alabama, and they're not going to jump Florida over Alabama. They haven't played each other yet. But again, I think Auburn will probably edge out Alabama, but you can make a case for both. And certainly I would make a case for the Crimson Tide. But regardless, it's going to be off the wall because there won't be another poll until this time next week. So Alabama and Auburn are going to be 1 and 2 when they play Saturday. But they both have tricky road tests because Auburn's got to bounce back, go to Vandy. We've already talked about Vandy being good in Memorial Gym this year. They've been giant killers. And they came back Saturday after trailing for much of the game against Texas to beat them. And then Alabama's got to go to Texas. You can't worry about Auburn yet. You got to go to Texas. You got to take care of business.
Yes.
So
and playing on the road in the SEC is not easy.
Oh, I mean, it's not.
It's not easy. A 1-point win, 5-point win, whatever you can get on the road, that's good.
And not to mention,
that's good. Take it.
Not to mention, Texas A&M's a top 10 team right now.
Yes.
They won at Missouri because of Wade Taylor's shot. And then Ole Miss found a way to come back and win against LSU, and they're basically in the top 12. So it's just a meat grinder of a league, Mark. It's so good.
Yes.
I never believed Auburn was going to go undefeated in the league. It's too tough. Now, I'm like you. I was not expecting it to be the Gators at Neville Arena, but Florida's just really, really good.
Look, and it wouldn't have surprised. I mean, losing to Florida at home, I think it was the way they lost.
Well, because
they've been flirting. They'd been flirting. And Bruce Pearl had said that, the way that they've been playing, they've been kind of flirting on that line a little bit, getting away with some things.
They survived at Georgia.
And
they survived at South Carolina.
Losing to Florida, probably not a surprise, but I think it was the fashion and how they lost and just kind of not looking like they They just were.
Well, and especially the way the game started. If you watch the game, Auburn got up 10.
Yes, right there.
It looked like they were going to haymaker it. They were going to take control of the game. And then to Florida's credit, by halftime, there was a 20-point flip because Florida led by 10. And then Florida comes out of the locker room and gets up 17. And you're like, uh-oh.
College coaches will tell you it's the first 5 minutes of the game and the first 5 minutes of the second half that set the tone.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, John Schulman taught me that extensively. And Nick Hedgebeth has done the same thing, has taught me that much. It's the first 5 minutes. You can win or lose a game in the second half of the first or 5 minutes.
John Calipari will tell you Alabama won the game Saturday, the first part of the second half, because they built a 17, 18, 20-point lead. And that's what happened. And Arkansas couldn't dig out of the hole. Now, they rallied and got within 3, but then a lot of times you run out of gas because you expend so much energy trying to come back.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Go ahead, Mark.
Just real quick, I was going to mention, I give Jalen a lot of credit in Alabama, particularly when he took the team down, to win the championship. And then we couldn't stop anybody that day, and we got the pick play at the end. But Jalen's a winner, and just a great game. Y'all have a good day.
All right, thanks. Yeah, Jalen Hurts.
That defense actually did stop them 7 straight times before they couldn't stop them the 8th. But again,
Jalen Hurts now a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, 2 NFC championships. He's 50-27-1 as an NFL starter, a college football champion, a 3-time conference champion, a Heisman runner-up, a second-team All-American, and 51-5 in college football.
Yeah, he was outstanding.
I mean, that's Jalen Hurts' numbers now after yesterday.
And that's no crime of his. There was a quarterback that came along that was, one of the 2 greatest I've ever seen at Alabama. And he was outstanding in his own right, and he's taken full advantage of his opportunity. He's gone to the perfect situation for him to play for that organization, and he's got a chance to continue to win. And that's all you ask for.
Will people still compare him to Tua? Will he still be compared to
I'm sure they will.
Because he's got the Super Bowl ring now, which a lot of people thought maybe Tua would have it first. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. Tua hasn't been to 1 yet.
Well, I'll just say this. If you put Tua or Bryce Young on the Eagles, they still win the Super Bowl. They probably won 2 Super Bowls. And yet Jalen's played great in both of them.
Right.
Gave him every chance to win in the first one and then won this one. But the 2 greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen at Alabama are Bryce Young and Tua. And I put Tua second because of the injuries. Like Bryce, he got that one injury his last year, but he still played through it.
Right.
Missed a little time. But I still say those are the 2 greatest. But Jalen Hurts, he responded after he lost his job. He was an outstanding backup at Alabama, came off the bench when Tua got hurt, of course, and won the SEC championship game against Georgia. He used that, went to Oklahoma. You just talked about it, became a Heisman finalist, and went to the playoff, won a Big 12 title, second-round draft choice, which is probably good for him. He went to a better football team with a better owner. It's a lot of times where you go and who you go to. I mean, you look at Tom Brady. He's considered the GOAT. He was a 6th-round pick, but he went to a great organization with a great coach and a great owner who surrounded him with players, okay? And that's what you have to do. You got to be – right now, Bryce Young is in purgatory. He's with a terrible organization. He had a good second half of the season, but the Panthers have not been good for a while. They have a questionable owner. They've had a merry-go-rounded head coach and general manager. And then the Dolphins are pretty good, okay? But they're not the Eagles. They do not have the offensive line, the running game, the defense. Even though the Dolphins' defense this year was better, it ain't the Eagles. The Eagles are number 1.
And it's staying healthy for Tua.
Yeah, exactly.
Staying on the field.
And Tua, once again, got hurt this year, the concussions. He's just had durability issues his whole career, whereas Jalen Hurts, he had a concussion this year and missed some time at the end of the regular season. But for the most part, he's been very durable. He's been very durable. He's been starting a lot of games. And to the Eagles' credit, they went and got Kenny Pickett from the Steelers, and he was a quality backup, kept it between the ditches. Then you get Hurts back for the postseason, and Jalen Hurts played his best football at the best time, which is the playoffs and the Super Bowl.
All right, 7:31. I tell you what, we got phone lines lighting up, but let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll get to Bryce and Wolverine Dan. Plus, we got more numbers from the Super Bowl and college basketball conversation. Kind of mix and intertwine the both. It's Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Couple of opportunities for rain as we head into the overnight. Otherwise, temperatures drop into the mid-40s. We might have to deal with a little bit of rain for the Tuesday morning commute. Otherwise, it's not going to be too bad. It looks like the widespread rain is going to stick with us as we head into Tuesday evening and then even through the overnight. Temperatures climbing into the lower 50s on Tuesday, dropping into the mid-40s Tuesday night, early into Wednesday morning. Wednesday could be much the same across the area, though it does look like temperatures are going to climb a little bit more, hanging out in the mid and upper 50s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
I'm not seeing anything problem-wise this morning. Traffic level building quickly all across the valley. You be careful on your ride in. Right now, though, it looks pretty good. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Super Bowl 59 is on Westwood One.
Now the Chiefs are on the doorstep of history, going for a third consecutive Super Bowl.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Grant. Join Kevin Harlan, Kurt Warner, Laura Oakman, Gene Steratore, Devin McCourty, and me for all the action right here.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
Have you ever turned your back on God? Have you ever absolutely known the right thing to do and just turned around and walked away in disobedience? I know that I have. Aren't we thankful for our great and merciful God who loves us and forgives us and remembers our sin no more? I'm so thankful that his mercies are fresh every day. I need that, and I suspect you do too. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, and if you're looking for a church home, come see us. We're smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison, and check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Buckhorn Youth Sports was created in 2018 to provide kids in our community the ability to compete at every sport possible. We offer football, flag and tackle, cheer, volleyball, wrestling, basketball, baseball, and softball. You can find us on Facebook at Buckhorn Youth Sports, where we prepare the future. Buckhorn Youth Sports is a proud supporter of Buckhorn High School football. Go Bucks! Football season and Bad Daddy's Burger Barn. The perfect combination of good times and great food. This season, score big with one of our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness. Our delicious burgers are made with premium Angus beef, and you can pair it with one of our signature cocktails or a cold craft beer from our huge selection. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway in Huntsville and our new location at Cliff Farm, Highway 72 in Madison.
From the preseason NIT to the Final Four, college basketball is right here on your new home of ESPN Radio, 97.7 The Zone.
He is on the street.
I guess they. All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Sometimes we just carry commercial conversations right on into the show. That's perfectly fine. 256-576-4977 is the number to the phone lines. Other Super Bowl numbers, in case you wanted to know, the 18-point victory is the first Super Bowl to be won by multiple scores since Tampa Bay's win over Kansas City in 2020. The loss is tied for the third biggest margin of defeat by the Chiefs in a game started by Mahomes since 2018, their biggest loss since Week 7 of 2021. Eagles didn't have zero. They had zero blitz attempts yesterday. They sacked Mahomes a career-high 6 times en route to the victory. Philadelphia's 24-0 halftime lead in the first half was the second biggest in Super Bowl history. All 5 teams Washington, Philadelphia, San Francisco was up 37-3 over Denver in 1990. You alluded to some of those old games in the past. In 86, Chicago was on top of New England 23-3, which, by the way, was also played in the Superdome in New Orleans. And in 82, San Francisco over Cincinnati 20-0. And Devontae Smith's touchdown from Jalen Hurts traveled 54.9 yards through the air, which is the second longest completion of the season and sixth longest of his career. So there you go. Just some more. We'll go over some more of those numbers here in a little bit because there's all kinds of Super Bowl numbers.
Yeah, and we got updated by listeners too. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is hurt, but he'd already fallen out of the rotation.
Yeah.
Pacheco was out for I already talked about that. He had an injury where he was out for part of the season. And the biggest thing is, and this was pointed out, is Rashid Rice, who'd become one of their best receivers. He's in all this legal trouble. So just like Tyreek Hill kept getting in trouble, they decided to get rid of him. Rice may be the same situation. They're going to have to go out.
I remember that.
Yeah. They're going to. He had the car accident situation. They're probably just going to have to either draft another big-time receiver like they got Worthy or make a trade and get somebody in there for the Chiefs.
By the way, Travis Kelce's 4 receptions last night moved him ahead of Jerry Rice for most career receptions in Super Bowl history. He needed one.
Wow.
Kelce, by the way, needed one more game than Rice. Rice did it in just 4 games. Kelce did it in 5 games. Let's get out to Bryce real fast on the phone lines. Good morning, Bryce.
Morning, Bryce.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call. What a performance by the combo Georgia and Alabama Eagles.
Yeah, that's basically what they built their team around is Georgia and Bama guys, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and that was awesome. I was glad to see it, but from the get-go, they just lined up and beat them in the trenches and kicked their butt,
Yep.
That's all you can
Correct.
say.
Yep,
But
no doubt.
Real quick, I know you got a lot of callers, but should we be concerned with losing a lead like that, like we did in Fayetteville?
Well, that you've got to learn to finish as far as have a killer instinct and put them away earlier, but no, not too much. I think it's more about finding ways to make tough plays and find a way to win. Scott's already talked about it. It's really tough to win on the road in the SEC. And first of all, they were good enough to build that lead. Like Nate Oates said, they need to play with more intensity. They kind of relaxed, but I mean that's a good problem to have from the standpoint you just learn from it. And you did handle business. Alabama's been really good on the road. That's why I think they're going to beat Texas. But we'll see. It's not going to be an easy game. But they got to guard Trey Johnson. They got to rebound. They got to handle the basketball. They did have some issues with turnovers in the first half. They kind of fixed it in the second half against Arkansas. But still, I just like the way they play. And to me, I know with the Chiefs, they just a football analogy. They found ways to win close games all year until they got blitzed yesterday. But I still say Alabama, they've handled business on the road every time. And in some cases, like at South Carolina, Auburn won by 2. Alabama won that game by 20. They have finished. But again, Arkansas, that was a very tough environment. I'm not that concerned about that right now. We'll see how it goes, how it is going forward. But I'm just impressed with the way they handled business in that environment because I was nervous about that game because they had completely flipped the script on how they were playing. And
playing with a little bit of momentum.
Yeah,
at home.
And I took it as because John L. Davis had been playing really well and kind of found himself, and he didn't have nearly as good a game against Alabama because of how they played, with physicality against him and guarded him. So I took just about all positives out of that performance. The last 5 minutes, a little iffy, but again, that's some things Nate Oates can harp on, but I still think Alabama played really well.
Well, shout out to the lady softball team. They won 3 games. And shout out to Coach DeBoer's daughter. She got a 3-run homer, the only runs they scored in the second game that we beat them. I didn't know if y'all were aware of that or not.
Yeah, I followed
it.
They actually went 4-1 on the weekend. They won their first 3, then they lost. I got run ruled by Arizona. That was late. That was 2-1 game, and then they had a bad 5th inning, lost 9-1, but they bounced back. They beat Western Michigan yesterday morning 14-5 to end up a strong weekend. And Mari Hubbard, shout out to her. She started the first 2 games at third as a freshman for Alabama. She's from Huntsville High, and she had a really good career at Huntsville High. So shout out to her for getting some playing time this weekend. And I thought Alabama, except for the one bad inning against Arizona, played really well. All things considered for Coach Murph. They look like they're more athletic. They look like their lineup's a little better. And I thought they were pretty good in the circle overall. So, I mean, Arizona's still a quality program. They're one of the best programs in the country. There's nothing to be ashamed of, dropping a game on their home field. But I thought overall it was a good opening weekend for Alabama softball.
Oh, it was. But, Coach DeBoer was proud of his daughter.
Yeah,
he should be. Yeah.
Got to see it. She's a freshman.
Yeah, that's correct. She's a true freshman hitting third. Yep.
Yep. Too bad we couldn't get her.
Yeah, she was an early commitment to Washington, and of course they've got a really good program in their own right. But she definitely looks like she's going to be a great player.
Well, good. Well, appreciate y'all letting me talk, guys. And Kentucky won. Who was it? Kentucky beat this weekend?
South Carolina.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, South Carolina still hadn't won a conference game.
Correct.
No.
They're struggling.
It looked like they folded up against Kentucky down the stretch. That one got out of hand.
They could have won 3 or 4 games already, but they've dropped the close games, and they're just kind of they're kind of like Missouri was last year. They're just kind of snake bit, and they're just not very good.
Hey, Drew, get ready for the idiot call in a few minutes because they did win.
Yeah, they won.
Well, he won't call.
Yes, he will too.
No.
Thank you, Bryce. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bryce. Let's go to Wolverine Dan. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Wolverine Dan.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. What did you think of the game last night?
It was dominated by Philly. I mean, it was over pretty much after DeJean got the pick 6. I mean, once it was 17-0, you just kind of felt like
defensively they just frustrated.
Yeah,
they frustrated Kansas City. And you know what is? And we were just comparing it to the Alabama LSU game for a little bit there in the Superdome, because it wasn't until late in the third quarter that Kansas City actually crossed midfield. And that was something LSU didn't do against Alabama in that game. But it was just a dominating defensive performance.
Well, I was very pleasantly pleased to see Mahomie on his back 6 times, especially the last one where he got the ball stripped from his arm, and then the other lineman punched him in the face. I thought that was really good. I was my highlight of the game. But I want to throw a scenario out to you, and these are just scenarios. It didn't happen. We lost our opportunity. I understand it. But if the Lions would have had all their defensive players healthy and didn't have the bad luck we had in injuries defensively, I think this team would have won that game also against the Chiefs. Don't you agree?
Would have had a good shot, but I mean, I just think it's one of those things where they had too many injuries on defense, and then they played their worst game of the year probably in that game against the Commanders. They just didn't play very well. They dug a hole and they couldn't dig out of it. I mean, Jared Goff's been really good for them, but he just had a bad game, and that's the way it is sometimes in the NFL in the playoffs, man. It's when you get hot, and then injuries play a part of it too.
I will say this in my closing: don't lose hope. This team has a lot of good pieces still left, and I think they're going to add one more. There was a picture or a sighting where Aiden Hutchinson was hanging out with Myles Garrett. So I think he might come to the Lions on that defensive line now. They get Hutchinson healthy and all the other players we have, Sadajian Smith and so on, McNeil. I think we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I can see us in the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles certainly improved a lot in 1 year. They'd finished with a whimper last year because their defense wasn't nearly as good as it was this season, and because they had injuries and didn't have Saquon, they went. I think they finished 10-7, then lost in the first round of the playoffs. So certainly a few tweaks, no question about it. Certainly, I know that the Chiefs will try to tweak some things too, but Detroit will be on that short list of contenders, no doubt about it.
Well, again, gentlemen, enjoy your show, and all I got to say is go Lions and go blue, baby. See ya.
All right, let's get in Pat from Tuscaloosa real fast. Good morning, Pat.
What's up, Pat?
Good morning, guys. Hey, how rare is the air
for Devontae Smith having won a national title at Alabama, a Heisman Trophy, and now a Super Bowl ring.
Five.
There's only five. He's one of only five to do it, man. They're all
Charles
studs,
Woodson,
man.
Marcus Allen, Tony Dorsett, and Reggie Bush are the other four.
Yep, there you go.
I'm impressed, guys. I'm impressed. How did we bring that back? Wow. Hey, man, I just can't get over that I was one of those people that said that he couldn't play quarterback at that in the NFL. And I got egg on my face this morning, but that 54-yard touchdown pass to Smith was quite incredible. But now, does this prove out that Milrose should have gone to Oklahoma for his final year of eligibility and learn how to play quarterback? And am I all wet?
No, I mean,
same system that Jalen Hurts ran at Oklahoma is not there anymore.
Well, and the system they ran at OU was a lot like the one they built around him at Alabama. He didn't play. The Big 12 is not the SEC, so he was able to run up some huge stats and had a great year at OU. But I mean, he didn't have. But at the same time, his team wasn't as good as Oklahoma. No. We all know what happened. It was like a scrimmage when they played against LSU in the Sugar Bowl, and they got beat 60-something to 28. I can't remember what it was bad. And I do remember Ed Ogeron saying they were about the fifth or sixth best team that LSU had played that year. But he had a great year at OU personally, though, and it was a good move for him because he wasn't going to beat out Tua at Alabama. I mean, but again, I think the Eagles have smartly built around him. They've built him an offensive line, a running game, because, again, Jalen Hurts' biggest strength as a player is he knows how to protect the ball.
Right.
He knows how to play complementary football, and he's durable. He doesn't get hurt. Now, he did have this concussion, but it's been a rarity. He has not been out of the lineup very much at all since he's been with Philadelphia. He's been durable. He's been durable his whole career. Didn't miss games at Alabama. He did not miss games at OU. He knows how to protect his body. Even when he runs, he doesn't take a lot of big hits. I always said that. He always knows to find the sideline, get out. Or last night, slide, get down, protect yourself. And so he's very, very few injuries in his career and always efficient. And like I said, his biggest issue at Alabama was he could not throw the deep ball. He had a lot of trouble with that.
Do you give Lincoln Riley credit?
I guess
thanks for the phone call, by the way, as well.
You could, I mean, you could say that he helped him with his deep ball accuracy. But I think the biggest thing was Jalen's also put in work. I think he's worked on that. And sometimes it still comes and goes with him. Like he had a stretch this year where he was struggling with only averaging about 120 yards a game for a stretch with the Eagles, and the fans weren't happy. But again, they worked it. He and A.J. Brown weren't on the same page, but they worked it all out. And again, that defense just continued to get better with Philadelphia. And if Jalen Hurts protects the ball, uses his mobility, and that's the thing. The difference between him and Jalen Milroe is a couple things. Jalen Milroe does not throw the short and intermediate pass well at all. Jalen always has. He's a feast or famine with the deep ball, and then he's not a willing runner. Jalen Hurts has always been a willing runner. Jalen Hurts has great vision as a runner when he picks his spots. Milroe does not. Milroe has no lateral quickness at all. Jalen Hurts has the ability to make you miss. He's got a little bit of a lateral quickness to him and the ability to break tackles. Milroe doesn't break many tackles. He's got straight line speed, and he's a lot faster than Jalen Hurts, but that don't matter because he unless he's wide, unless he can break a tackle or he has a straight line where everything is blocked perfectly, he can go 85 yards just like that. But again, he doesn't have elusiveness. He's just got straight line speed, whereas Jalen Hurts has got some quickness, got some lateral agility and ability to make you miss, and he's got enough speed. He's faster than he looks, and he can move those chains. He's not going to go 50 yards, but he doesn't need to win football games. And so, again, he doesn't have the explosiveness of Milroe, but he's a lot more polished at the same time than Jalen Milroe is, in my opinion.
All right, 7:51. Let's get a break in. We'll wrap up hour one of Talking Ball next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It has been an easy ride in this morning, not much to it. We did have a tractor trailer lose part of its load in Florence. They've got Helton Drive southbound at Huntsville Road pretty well jammed up. Try to avoid that area if you can. 2030 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Allison lost 100 pounds in 7 months on the plan. A free quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
We aren't a winning school. We are a championship school, and we make legends. Join the Crimson Tide as they look to continue to rise to the top of the NCAA basketball mountain. Every game, all season, right here on your home for Alabama basketball, the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Hey, I'm on vacation every single day because I love my.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, the Zone, 7:54 on a Monday morning. Again, we've been live from Bill Penny Toyota and just kind of breaking down everything with the Super Bowl. The NFL now still the only professional franchise that does not have a team that has three-peated in its history. Major League Baseball has had it. Yeah, NBA has had it. The NHL has had it, but not the NFL.
This was the closest because no team had even made it back to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. The Chiefs did it, but they were not the best team in football, obviously. That was the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Brandon is with us. Good morning, Brandon.
So the Chiefs are the first to do it since the Bills went 4 times, right?
Yes.
And they went. They didn't go. I don't think the Bills. They didn't go 4 in a row though, did they? I thought they.
No,
won.
Bills went 4 in a row.
Okay.
Yeah, they went 4 in a row. Yep.
I thought there might have been like 2, and then 1 year, and then 2 more. I was trying to remember if they went 4 in a row. So that's another boner by the idiots
and
at Fox.
By the way, the Oakland A's in the 72, 73, 74 year, they went to the World Series. They won the World Series 3 years in a row. Don Mincher, Huntsville native Don Mincher was part of those Oakland A's teams, who, by the way, is in the Huntsville-Madison County Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yep.
The Alabama Sports Hall of Fame is Don Mincher. So, yes.
So Hurt signed an extension a couple years back to take him through the end of 28 for $255 million.
That's right.
Does he get a pay raise?
I doubt it. I think they're just going to let him play out his contract because that's usually what happens with these huge deals. Like Now, but when he gets to the last year of the deal, they may do something, but I think they'll let it play out. I mean, he's already making huge money. He got paid because he took them to the Super Bowl. He played well in the Super Bowl. They didn't win it, and now he's won one 2 years later. But no, I don't think so. I think they first of all they paid Smitty a couple years ago too. A.J. Brown is a guy they're going to have to deal with. Are they going to continue to pay him, or are they going to move on from him? Because I know they had some issues with him. And then you've got that defense, because some of those young cats, the Nolan Smiths of the world, the Jalen Carters, you're going to have to pay them, because the best part of their team right now is their defense. So they're going to have to start paying some of those guys, even though they didn't have Nakobe Dean. Like, Nakobe Dean's a hell of a player. That's another Georgia guy they drafted, but he got hurt. He hurt his knee, so he didn't even play. But, they're going to have to, invest their money in some of the defense as well.
So Skyline comes in and beats the Spring Garden boys.
Yeah, 1 versus 4, man. That's a tough crossover because Skyline got upset in their area tournament. That's tough. And then to lose in double overtime, excruciating for Skyline, I know.
Skyline,
or excuse me, for Spring Garden, pardon me.
2-4 and 0-0 for Skyline are really good shooters. They are not physically imposing at all. They are not a big team. They're small guys. And 23 hit a shot. I'll say this, and I hope if I'm lying to what I say, I hope God strikes me dead right where I'm at. If Ace could have suited up for the boys, they'd have beat Skyline. Roll Tide.
Well, she's a heck of a player. She had 43, I think, again, and they beat. They were, I think, it was 87, 35 or something like that. It was a trouncing of Oakwood. Yeah, they just great job by Ace and the ladies, and they're going to go on and play Winterboro tomorrow.
All right, that's hour 1 of Talking Ball. When we kick off hour number 2, Nick Kelly going to join us on the flip side.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. For a limited time, GBank is offering a $250 bonus when you open a GBank Visa signature card. Apply today at vsin.com/GBank.
The Eagles dominate Super Bowl 59, beating the Chiefs 40-22 as a 1.5 underdog. Philadelphia opened 6-1 to win Super Bowl 60. They're the favorite. Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens at 7-1, the second choice. Lions at 9-1. The Atlanta Falcons open at 65-1. It's Speed Week at Daytona, the 67th running of the Daytona 500 coming up on Sunday. We'll have the qualifying on Wednesday and the qualifying duels on Thursday. Kyle Larson is 10-1 to win it. Kyle Busch, Danny Hamlin, both 11-1. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and Chase Elliott all 12-1. For more, go to VSIN.com.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This hour brought to you by SportsMed Orthopedic and Spine Center. Online at sportsmedalabama.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
It is hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Hey, SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center. Yep, we may be a Bill Penny Toyota sitting here, but Sportsmed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, they're dedicated to providing care that improves lives, so they'll help you. You can give them a call, 256-881-5151, to experience the Sportsmed difference. They are the official training providers for the UAH Chargers, who, by the way, have upped their win streak to 22 straight games thanks to their win over Mississippi College on Saturday. We'll talk more about the Chargers later.
What a comeback, or what a win for the ladies, though.
Ladies get the Mississippi sweep as well.
Yeah.
They get the win over Delta, which, by the
they
way,
were trailing at the end of the third quarter.
Which, by the way, was only the fourth win in program history for the women at Delta State.
And Delta State had played really well at home.
Yep, and then they got the come-from-behind win. Alan Sharp, he was a little on the edge after that one because they didn't play very good. And then they found a way to get a win. But, wow, they are both playing very well. And we'll talk more about the Chargers coming up here this week. But we talked a lot about the Super Bowl. We've talked a lot about Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and the Alabama connections of all of those guys, former Crimson Tide players, going to get Super Bowl rings. And then we dabbed a little bit with college basketball, Alabama's win on the road over Arkansas, and the college football. I tell you what, this is just awesome to live in this state right now, to talk about college basketball and the importance of it, because social media was on fire Saturday night and yesterday with basketball fans, Drew, that probably 3, 4, 5 years ago weren't caring that much all about Alabama or even Auburn basketball to the extent. And now it's a debate, kind of like college football, on who should be number one in the AP poll today. And it's remarkable to see. It's fun to see. It's remarkable to see as well.
Well, our next guest will have fun in Tuscaloosa coming up on Saturday for that Armageddon. College Game Day will be there for Alabama and Auburn. And regardless, whether it's Auburn 1, Bama 2, or Bama 2, or Bama 1 and Auburn 2, regardless, it's going to be 1-2 Bama and Auburn. I think we all understand that.
Yes.
In some form or fashion. And our next guest from AL.com will be all over it, as will his colleagues as well. And certainly, I know he was watching the Super Bowl closely, and that's our great friend Nick Kelly, who's going to join us for a few minutes on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Nick, what's going on, man? We got you, Nick.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can get Nick Kelly back on the line here momentarily. But again, Alabama does get that win. Until we get Nick back on, what impressed you the most about that win for Alabama at Arkansas?
Well, I just thought, the ability to come out in the second half and build, a big lead, get up by 18, and then the way they attack the paint. I mean,
right.
they didn't rely on the three, and really they haven't this year. I know they haven't shot it as well as some people think they should, but they really attacked the paint, and they beat Arkansas up inside, no doubt about it. They were very efficient offensively and did a great job. But I just thought overall, I think they had maybe 56 points in the paint. They really dominated it. They won the battle of the glass, and that's the keys. And then the second half, they fixed the turnovers for the most part. They were turning it over too much in the first half. Arkansas was hanging around. It was only a 6-point game at halftime. But the way they came out of the locker room, you just talked about what John Schulman, his mantra always was, set the tone at the beginning of each
First
half.
5, yep.
And I thought Alabama set the tone in that half, no question about it.
All right, so the thing is everybody, College Game Day, by the way, will be in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. They announced that right after College Game Day ended up this past weekend. But before we get to Alabama and Auburn on Saturday, and that is what a lot of people are going to talk about because it will be the showdown. Both Alabama and Auburn do have games this week. They do have games on Tuesday. Alabama, I believe, has Texas, right? Is that who Alabama has? Texas
they have
on
Texas
Tuesday?
in the Moody Center. Yep. And speaking of that, we're going to go out to the phone lines. And again, he will be all over the coverage of this game. College Game Day coming to town is going to be 1 versus 2. We're going to see if it's Auburn 1, Bama 2, or Bama 1, Auburn 2. But regardless, they're going to be the top 2 teams in the country. It's going to be the biggest regular season basketball game in state history. and our good friend Nick Kelly is going to be on all over, and he's joined us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Nick, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I can't wait for Saturday. It's going to be something. I've been looking forward to it, I think, since the last game at Coleman against Georgia last Saturday, and it's going to be something.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something that it's unreal to think about that both Alabama and Auburn. I mean, it's we said last year how big it was. It's the epicenter of college basketball, but even this year's matchup topples last year's matchups there for both Alabama and Auburn.
Yeah, I even think back to 2 years ago when Auburn came to Coleman. I think I don't know if it was the last game of the regular season, but it was toward the end, because that night Alabama won the SEC championship for the regular season by beating Auburn in overtime. And it was kind of a wild game because I think Auburn went up big and Alabama fought back, forced overtime.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I mean, that place was electric then, and that was not number 1 and 2 in the country. So, I can't wait. I mean, I think it's going to be such a great environment. And you just add the fact that, take the fact that it's Auburn, Alabama, Auburn, take that out of it. Just look at the fact that you have 2 fantastic basketball teams. I mean, I think if you just want good college basketball, you're going to tune in. You're going to flip the channel to ESPN to watch that, even if you have no stake in this rivalry. So, no, it's going to be some great basketball. It's going to be a great environment. It's Monday, right? Let's fast forward to Saturday already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Scott and I were talking about our thoughts, but what was yours on the win against Arkansas? Personally, I was asked on another radio show this morning how I would vote. I would vote Bama won just because both Duke and Auburn lost. I understand the rationale, though, because Florida is outstanding. They're a top 5 team in their own right. And 4 of the top 5 very likely going to be from the SEC, with Tennessee in there as well. But I can understand the rationale with the quality of opponent that Auburn played and Auburn in their schedule and what they've accomplished. I can see Auburn still being 1. I would personally vote Bama 1, but your thoughts on what you saw out of Bama and what impressed you about their effort in Fayetteville?
Yeah, let's start with the game. I mean, I think, 30 quality minutes of basketball, impressive outing on the road. I mean, Arkansas is a good team. I mean, I think that they've had some bumps and some stumbles, but I think it's a team that can definitely beat you on any given night if you're not careful. Doesn't mean they will. It's just they have that ability, especially at home. I mean, at Bud Walton with 19,000. So that's a tough place to play. And Alabama looked really good. I mean, there was some good shooting there. I mean, it was an Alabama performance that you thought. I mean, the defense really was probably the shining thing for a while. I think the points per possession were a little bit below 1, probably like 0.8, 0.9, something like that, which is, for those who don't follow points per possession, I mean, that's a really solid number defensively. And then, didn't quite finish strong, which, I mean, there's some human nature in that, and so I get that. And I think it's a road win. You take it. I mean, it was closer than comfort than late in that late moment, but it's a good road win over a team that could have beaten them easily on the road. So I think you just take it and move forward. And I was telling someone before the game just how much it would be understandable if Alabama overlooked one of these opponents before the IBOB facing Auburn, just because, I mean, these are 2 teams that aren't in Arkansas and Texas that aren't necessarily going to contend for the SEC title. So it could be easy to overlook them, and I was maybe expecting a little bit of a slip up just because of that. And Alabama got the win, so that's all I can ask for. But yeah, as far as the 1 versus 2, I mean, I think you keep Auburn at 1, considering their 2 losses are to what'll probably still be top 5 teams.
Right.
Well, I guess I should say Florida's top 6, but either way, top 10.
Yes.
And good teams. And frankly, I think Alabama fans want to stay not be number 1. In my unscientific Twitter poll, I asked, what would you rather be? And number 2 won big time. So not a perfect sample size. My stats teacher wouldn't be proud of my experiment there, but just to give you an idea, that's kind of the temperature, at least, that Alabama fans are at. So I think it's going to be Auburn 1, Alabama 2. Does it really matter? No. either way, I just hope they're both in that 1 and 2 slots so that we can get 1 versus 2 on Saturday.
Yeah, and however it is on Saturday, 1-2, 2-1, the bench is going to have to play big again. The bench was huge on the road against Arkansas. They outscored the Hogs 31-11. Going to need another big-time performance from the bench.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's a group that you could probably trot out and beat a lot of teams if you started your bottom 5, so to speak. I mean, they're running 9 or 10, but point being, I mean, some of their bench players have been some of their better players in a lot of games. I mean, Mo Diabate is phenomenal. I mean, he might be my favorite player to watch on this team, just because of how he plays the game. Then you have Aiden Holloway, who's really come on big in conference play. Of course, interesting game for him on Saturday, being a former Auburn guy. So yeah, I mean, you've got some quality play there. They've rotated a few guys in the starting lineup too, but Aiden Sherrill, I mean, he can kind of surprise in some moments where he'll give you a couple quality good minutes, might hit a 3. So yeah, I mean, the talent, we knew the depth was there. I don't think we ever doubted that. I think the question was always this year is how is Nate going to manage those minutes and make sure that those guys who aren't starting stay locked in and stay happy. And so far, it seems like he's done a pretty good job because when those guys come in, they do a great job. So yeah, Alabama's depth is one of its biggest strengths, and we're seeing that night in, night out.
And they still don't have Darion Reed. He missed this game. I know Nate Oates told you guys that until he can go through a practice without any discomfort, he's going to be a game-to-game type deal. But they still only had 9 guys. And then Youngblood has just, once he's gotten healthy, we've seen what Alabama felt like they were getting when they took him from South Florida and and brought him back home to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that, as far as Youngblood, I mean, he's living up to what they thought he could be once fully healthy.
Yeah.
And I mean, his shooting's phenomenal. He's just tough. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we don't think of him maybe as a blue collar points guy, but I mean, he's a tough dude. Like I'd want him in the back alley with me, so to speak. But no, his 3-point shooting is so key, and they've needed it. I mean, especially with Reitzel. So the guy with Youngblood, and yeah, with Reed, it definitely is a case of they don't have to rush him back just because they have all these other guys. Would it be great to have him back, especially defensively? 100%. But Nate Oates, as he talked about, they're trying to prioritize his long-term health. With a long career ahead of him, and so they're trying to take that game by game. Maybe we see him back this week, maybe not. Just again, they need to see him in a full practice without experiencing discomfort. And we'll see when that happens. And maybe it's hey, he comes back for a game or 2 and has to go out another game or 2. So it sounds like it's kind of an evolving situation there.
Yeah, everyone's excited for Saturday, but it's hard. It's a topsy-turvy league, and any night can be not your night, and any night can be a team's that's not playing well's night. And Alabama does have to go to Texas, and they do have to play at Texas on Tuesday. Now, Texas is kind of hurting a little bit, but still, it's a game that Alabama does have to pay attention to because it's in the SEC and it's on the road.
Yeah, Nate talks about maturity tests a lot of times when it comes to games like this, and I think that we're going to see how mature this team is. I mean, it's a bunch of upperclassmen, 5th-year guys, so you'd hope they'd be mature. But I think it is that kind of case of, I mean, human nature, right? I mean, look at us, how excited and how much we're talking about Saturday. So,
yes.
So I mean, these are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old guys. And so you can't blame them for thinking about Saturday because they're people. I mean, they're not robots. But a test of a truly good team, or probably a great team, is that, okay, yeah, have this massive matchup coming up on Saturday, but we got business to take care of on Tuesday. So being able to compartmentalize is going to be super important. And frankly, it's a good barometer to see where this team's at mentally for how they do against Texas. Because, yeah, I mean, if it's just a standalone game, they should beat them 9 times out of 10. But doesn't mean they will.
It doesn't. They've got to take care of business, no question. But it'll be the second time game day's been to Tuscaloosa. I mean, it's going to be crazy. We're looking forward to that. And yet we had you on, and we haven't talked any football until now. We all know what's happened in the last several days. We had Senior Bowl week, but then Ryan Grubb comes back to town. We haven't spoken with you since that happened. Your thoughts on Ryan Grubb coming back? They're kind of getting the band back together now. Scott Huff, we realize where he's going. He's staying in the NFL now with the Rams. But your thoughts on Ryan Grubb coming back to Tuscaloosa?
I mean, it's massive. There's no other way to put it. I mean, he's a phenomenal play caller. When he was in the college game, he was on that kind of Sark level of a play caller, and I don't think I'm being too positive or optimistic about that. I mean, he was that good. And I think that this hire, I mean, I'm not trying to even be positive about it. Like, it's just a huge hire. You talk to anyone about it. I mean, everyone raves about his play calling. And of course, I think it worked super well in Seattle this past year, but they still had a pretty good offense. I mean, it wasn't the bottom of the league. Now it wasn't as elite as he's used to. I think it was like, I want to say it was 18th overall in yards or something like that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mean, it's proven that not only is Grubb a good play caller, but when he has Kalen as kind of his resource or as someone that he can bounce ideas off, I mean, they're phenomenal together. And we've seen that time and time again. And I don't think there's any reason to believe it won't happen here, especially with Grubb's offenses have been a little more pass happy. I mean, he won't characterize it that way probably, but you just look at the numbers and they've passed a lot. And you look at the strength of this Alabama team. Receiver. I mean, look at the receivers they have, and Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, and then they add Isaiah Horton, who could be the biggest impact transfer they bring in this year from Miami. And then you also have Jalen Mbakwe, Rico Scott. I mean, the list goes on. Where you got Jalen Hale coming back from injury. So they've got a lot of, depth, intriguing options, elite talent. And so if you're Ryan Grubb, you have to be really excited about having a group like that and building your offense around that. So, no, he knows how to win. He knows how to succeed. He knows how to call plays. I mean, just a phenomenal hire. It made sense just from Kalen's relationship, as long as they can make the rest of the coaching staff work out that way. It sounds like that they should be able to. I'm not expecting massive change there. And they could arguably have the best offensive coaching staff in the country because of that.
No doubt. It's going to be great chemistry and a lot of success between those two men as he rejoins, just like Steve Sarkisian rejoined the Alabama staff, and we saw what that did for Nick Saban. That was a great analogy by you, but great stuff, Nick. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday for Armageddon. That's what I basically call it. It's going to be Bedlam, Armageddon, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be unbelievable. I look forward to being there on Saturday. But again, let everybody know how to follow you and what you guys have going on at AL.com.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you there, Drew. It's going to be a fun one. Check me out on Twitter @_Nick Kelly, and AL.com is where you can find my work and that of my talented colleagues.
Thank you, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Nick. All right, Nick Kelly, kind enough to join us on a Monday. And, man, I tell you what, it's going to be an unreal atmosphere inside Coleman on Saturday. And then, I mean, it's going to be fantastic.
I mean, I was there for that the game Nick referred to about 3 years ago, which was the second meeting of Alabama and Auburn. And what a haymaker Auburn threw out. I mean, they were making shots everywhere. I believe with maybe 8 minutes and change on the clock, Auburn was up by 17, but Alabama just kept chopping, and they started making threes. Auburn started getting sloppy and turning the ball over, and Alabama came back, got the game into overtime. Then Brandon Miller started making free throws and made some big plays, and Alabama was able to outlast them. It was one of the best games I've ever seen in Coleman Coliseum, but Auburn played tremendously well in that game. And if it's that kind of contest again, holy Toledo. I mean, that was off the wall. And for them to be 1-2, whether it's Auburn number 1 or Alabama, they're going to be the top 2 teams in the country. And now they both have the tricky
Auburn has Vanderbilt
on Tuesday on the road. Yes. And then Alabama's got to go to Texas. But, man, what an atmosphere it's going to be. Auburn's already had game day in town, and they beat Tennessee in a great game. Now Alabama's going to have game day. It's going to be crazy.
I would not be surprised if game day doesn't come back. If trend continues, if this plane continues,
they'll be there for both games.
The final regular season game is in Auburn.
No doubt.
And that's the final regular season game of the year
before the SEC tournament.
Yeah, and it could decide the conference. It's just insane. Let's get a break in. Talking Ball will continue. 97.7 ESPN The Zone, live from Bill Penny Toyota.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It has been an easy ride in this morning, not much to it. We did have a tractor trailer lose part of its load in Florence. They've got Helton Drive southbound at Huntsville Road pretty well jammed up. Try to avoid that area if you can. 2030 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Allison lost 100 pounds in 7 months on the plan. A free quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
The Drive.
Both those guys have done a good job in what we've asked them to do, and both of them have developed nicely, and both of them have consistently made plays.
Wes and Steve.
Their decision-making, their judgment, their ability not to force things and take what the defense gives and distribute the ball with good decision-making down in, down out is probably the only thing that's going to be any different about them, because it's not physical ability or talent. So it's intangibles, leadership, decision-making, judgment, and all those types of things. And, both guys have done a good job in that regard as well.
Listen to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton each weekday afternoon starting at 5. We are your home of ESPN Radio, 97.7 The Zone.
This is Steve Moulton from 97.7 ESPN The Zone with my friend Brandon Pilcher from Pilcher's Appraisals. Brandon, what exactly do you do?
Steve, I'm an appraiser. I can value a property for you if you're potentially going to sell, and that valuation could also be used to help you with your property taxes.
Thanks, Brandon. Brandon is licensed in Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. You can contact him at 706-936-3766. Call or text.
Your home of March Madness, 97.7 The Zone.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Monday morning here on Talking Ball. We're live from Bill Penny Toyota on this Monday. Kind of wrapping up Super Bowl, wrapping up the weekend that was college basketball and everything that kind of went along there. The rest of the SEC on Saturday, we talked about Alabama, we talked about Auburn. Tennessee got a road win over Oklahoma, 70-52. Texas A&M gets by Missouri, 67-64.
Huge shot by Wade Taylor there, man, near the end of that game.
Kentucky walloped South Carolina 80-57. 47 second half points for Kentucky. South Carolina, though, only 19 first half points. So a rough day offensively. Mississippi State goes on the road, knocks off Georgia 76-75. Ole Miss over LSU 72-70. And Vanderbilt, a tough one. They had to work for it, but they get an 86-78 win over Texas at home. Vanderbilt still 5-5 in SEC play, staying right there with Kentucky in the league.
Well, they are, and they're solidly in the NCAA tournament, and that's why they're dangerous. But Auburn's old, and they're experienced, and they want to come back with a vengeance because they know they didn't play their best basketball against Florida. I mean,
Bruce Pearl's going to remind them of that. If they don't play with a lot of energy Tuesday and Saturday, I'll be surprised.
Yeah. I mean, and again, basketball is a funny game because here's the thing. I watched a lot of that game. Auburn was missing bunnies inside, the open threes that they've been making all year. They just weren't making plays, the plays that you see them make.
Right.
And Florida just played with a ton of energy. Their bigs played really, really well. They were able to, and it wasn't Joe Nye's typical dominant game because, he was having trouble finishing at times in the contest. So I just thought overall that, it was just a game where we didn't see Auburn's best. They did battle, and they certainly tried to make a game of it, but they just dug too deep a hole. Florida was too locked in. Walter Clayton, such a great player. And to do it without, one of their two best players, arguably, Elijah Martin, the transfer from FAU, was out. But then, the Slovenian, the guard off the bench, he's a shooter. He played well. He stepped up. That's what you have to have. Like, I'll give you an example of Huntsville High this past week. They win their 5th straight area championship. Simon Walker did not play in either game. Okay. He was a little banged up, so he didn't play. They changed the starting lineup. Evan Toms, you saw Evan Toms play. Big sophomore, number 34. He's 6'9". They decided to go with a Twin Towers type look. They've used it in the lineup at times during the season, but they haven't, used it as the starting lineup. But with Simon not playing, all of a sudden you've got Evan Toms and Josh Bowman together, and you put Toms at the 5, Josh at the 4, and Evan Toms, as good as the senior class is for Huntsville, and they're special. And Braden Rivers was phenomenal in the championship game with 20 points. But the MVP of the two games was Evan Toms. He averaged 19 and 10, Scott.
Yeah.
He's just a sophomore. He's an old school big. He dominated inside. And Huntsville High, they eliminated Grissom 66-30. And then Albertville played probably their best game against Huntsville this year in the 3 meetings. But Huntsville was just too tough and had played a great second quarter and pulled away. And then the rest of the game, they controlled it. And it was a 71-48 win. And that's what I'm saying. You just have to have guys step up. And Auburn's had that. When look, Joe Nye's missed time. He's had shoulder injuries. He had the ankle injury, and Auburn was still able to find a way to win. But they just ran into a team in Florida who's supremely talented. And look, there's a lot of basketball still to be played. Florida could still win this league, and Florida could still be a 1 seed. They're very, very good.
Well, right now, remember, 8 teams will play on day 1 of the SEC basketball
tournament.
tournament.
Last week. Yep.
South Carolina, LSU, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Georgia are pretty much there as to be playing in day 1 of the SEC basketball tournament. Now, this is where it gets interesting. That's 7 teams right there. Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State are all 5-5 right now in league play.
Mm-hmm.
One of those 3, because Missouri is 6-4, Ole Miss 7-4, so I wouldn't go above that.
Yeah.
So your 5-5 teams, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. One of those 3 teams will most likely end up playing on day 1 of the SEC basketball tournament.
If it started last week, Kentucky would have been.
Yes. So right now there's 3 teams tied. So this is a huge game. My point is, this is a huge game for Vanderbilt, because if Vanderbilt can somehow find a way to play good at home, they have played very well at home this season, has Vanderbilt. If they could find a way to pull off the upset on Tuesday, Vanderbilt would keep themselves above that 8 mark and not have to play on day 1 of the SEC basketball tournament. You slip, and now you're back there. If Kentucky finds a way, Mississippi State finds a way to have a big week, all of a sudden, if you're Vanderbilt, now you're back to playing in day 1. So that's just how big of a game it is for Vanderbilt this week on Tuesday against Auburn. So they have a lot to play for.
They do.
All right, let's get a break in. And speaking of the Florida Gators right now, Florida, and Bruce Pernell alluded to it, if Auburn was able to find a way to get a win, then they would be 4 games up on Florida in the standings. Florida found a way to get a win Saturday in Auburn. So instead of being 4 games behind Auburn, now you're just 2 games behind Auburn in the standings. So that's how big of a game it was for Florida, because all of a sudden now you're still in the thick of it. You are right in the thick of the race for the SEC.
And before we go to break, and when Kevin Brockway will join us, who covers the Florida Gators, done a great job. I've known him for many years. That there's a new Power 37 from Andy Katz, who, of course, we know Andy's working for the NCAA now, basically, and doing a great job covering college basketball. His top 10 that he would vote for right now would be Bama 1. Here's the interesting part, though. Florida 2. Bama 1, Florida 2 in his power 37. Duke 3, Auburn 4, Purdue 5. Purdue's beating Alabama. 6, Tennessee, 7, St. John's, 8, Houston, 9, Arizona, and 10, Texas Tech. So a little bit of a different top 10 for Andy Katz.
Yeah, I see that. I see that. All right, let's get a break in. We will talk Florida Gators coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the lower 50s. Many of us are going to stay dry, but a couple of isolated showers certainly can't be ruled out. Better opportunity for rain going to begin to build into the Tennessee Valley as we head into the overnight, early into your Tuesday morning. We're going to drop into the mid and upper 40s through the overnight, early into your Tuesday morning. Really not going to be a terrible Tuesday morning commute. The widespread rain really going to begin to move into the Tennessee Valley as we head into Tuesday afternoon. Temperatures only going to climb into the lower 50s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a wreck northbound on the Tennessee River Bridge, I-65. You need to be in the right lane before you get to the north end of the bridge to keep traffic moving there. That one is an injury type. We got one at Drake and Artie. They've got Drake closed completely right now while they do an investigation. A very serious, life-threatening injury in that one. At Shields and Jordan reported with an injury, still working on it. Officers, construction workers, and first responders are putting their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. You can make it safer for them. Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
A wise man once said, if you take care of old folks and children, everything in the middle will take care of itself.
Hi, I'm Danny Aldridge, lawyer in Alabama and Tennessee. In the next 20 years, the number of those folks over 65 years of age will more than double. In our golden years, the most important goal is to be treated with dignity and have control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm and the Legal Town Center, we're dedicated to help you with these goals, and we'll be there when life throws you those inevitable curveballs. Let us assist you with your legal needs, whatever they may be or become. You may reach us by phone at 256-534-3188 or online with Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Just remember, we're here to help. Whether it's personal injury, wrongful death, fraud and cheat, or estate planning made complete, we're here to help.
It all comes back to money.
Visit our store right now at zonedeals.bigdealsmedia.net to take advantage of all the best deals in the Tennessee Valley. Or just go to our website, 977ESPN.com, and click on the Zone Deals logo to start saving right now.
Now, that's to the price.
These deals won't last long, so get yours now. Zone Deals. You'll thank us later.
A man who could easily afford to buy a vowel.
Hello, listeners. I want to tell you a little bit about Minuteman Press and what we have to offer our community. We specialize in paper printing and can help from designing your piece to the finished product. We print media guides for many of the athletic departments at high schools and universities around the area. We typically purchase sponsorships from these schools as well to try and help them with their fundraising. Once we have reached our new normal, we also print all types of marketing materials for you to hand out either in person, via mail, or at various trade shows and events. At Minuteman Press, we're not just putting ink on paper, we're building relationships.
Sports Talk 24/7, 365. Your full-time sports station.
You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Is 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Doesn't anyone do any work around this joint anymore?
8:36 on a Monday morning. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond, live from Bill Penny Toyota Service Department. It's Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Before the break, we were talking college basketball, talking about Florida's win on the road Saturday over Auburn, an impressive win for the Florida Gators. And keep in mind, Florida also did it shorthanded as well. They were without some talent on that floor on Saturday and still found a way to convincingly get a win over Auburn on Saturday. And if you look at this Florida team, they now will travel to Mississippi State on Tuesday to take on the Bulldogs. But this Florida team, they were impressive in the early portion of the schedule, and they've kept that thing going during SEC play.
Yeah, no doubt. And Florida right now, they've got maybe the best win of the year in college basketball when you think about how dominant Auburn's been. They go to the Jungle, a.k.a. Neville Arena, and they dominate after getting off to that slow start. We talked about the game flipping. By the time it was halftime, it had been a 20-point flip. Gators up 10, and then they control the game for the entirety of the second half. It's been a while since we've had our next guest on the show, but I met him several years ago in his first tenure with the Gators covering Florida basketball, and he does an outstanding job. Nobody more well-versed in Gators athletics for the Gainesville Sun and Gannett, and that is Kevin Brockway, and he's been kind enough to join us to talk about this Gators win and what it means for Todd Golden and his program. Kevin, great to have you back on in Huntsville with Drew and Scott. How are you?
For the kind introduction. And yes, that was a rousing win at Auburn. Happened to go up there and was definitely worth the trip. Particularly didn't look good when they were down 20-13, and Will Richard had 2 fouls, but Walter Clayton kind of turned it on the first half, and then they kept the momentum and they managed to lead in the second half.
Yeah, and defensively too. Anytime you go on the road, you got to have that defense travel with you. And they did a good job to keep Jonai Broom at bay. They did a good job just keeping a lot of the other Tiger Stars kind of in check on Saturday.
Yeah, I thought Alex Condon, his ability to defend Broom in the post was really something. 8 of 13, got him kind of frustrated throughout the game. Really kind of made him go to his offhand a lot, and it worked out well. I thought he was one of definitely the guys that, and Janai still managed with a double-double, but like you said, it was kind of an inefficient double-double, whereas, Condon had 17 and 10, almost matched him, and was 7 of 10 from the floor.
Yeah, he really was. And Clayton had missed the previous game. He came back. They weren't sure if he'd be available, and he was. He had 19, ran the team really, really well. I was just supremely impressed with him a year ago. I saw him twice live. He's unbelievable. He came over from Iona. Rick Pitino had him. But talk about what makes him so special, because he is a stud.
He's a tough kid. He has a football background, actually. He played at Lake Wales High School down here in Florida. He's really close friends with Trevon Dexter. He was originally being recruited to play safety, but I think those 2 years under Rick Pitino at Iona was a great education for him, and he came up and, he could shoot, he's quick, he can get to the basket. This year they're asking him to play the point, which, last year they had Zion Pullen as more of the pure point and Clayton is more of a combo guard. There's still times when he turns it over a bit, but 9 assists also. I think his passing is very good for a point guard. They play somewhat positionless. He's not Walter's not traditional, I would say, like break down a defense point guard, but he's got good vision. He can find guys, and he's a scoring point guard, which is a huge weapon. A guy that can, obviously light it up from 3, can get to the basket, can do a lot of different things. So he's been, it was interesting because, like you said, coming off that ankle injury, he tweaked that ankle against Tennessee and played through it, and then they sat him for the Vanderbilt game because he wasn't quite 100%. And so at about the under 8 mark, after he kind of had that flurry where he scored 8 straight points, Todd Golden said, "Hey, I'm going to need you for a full 40 tonight." And Clayton turned around and said, "No problem, coach." And he went out and he played a full 40 minutes.
Yeah. Did not take one.
And they did it without, and
no Elijah Martin.
No Elijah Martin in this thing, out with that hip pointer. That was impressive as well. When you don't have your starting point guard and you go on the road and still able to run the offense like they did, that was impressive.
Yep.
You know, what's interesting, too, is that obviously, with Clayton being out on Wednesday and then Martin suffered the hip pointer on Tuesday, against Vanderbilt, had to go back to the locker room, and he played through it in the second half. Elijah did, but wasn't at 100%. So it's allowed Denzel Aberdeen to get more playing time. Urban Klavšar, a sophomore guard from Slovenia, has stepped up, hit a bunch of big threes. I mean, he was 3 for 3 from 3-point range in that Auburn game. He was 2 for 2 against Vanderbilt and hit a couple of timely threes to help Florida pull away in that game. So he's managed to come on. He's the guy that's kind of waited his turn. He had a few eligibility issues coming in. I don't think he appeared in the game until the third game this season because he came over from overseas. But he's a guy that now is starting to show that shooting ability and can be a big weapon off the bench. It's going to be very interesting when Elijah Martin does come back to Todd extend the rotation and give Klavšar some minutes as well and go to a 9-player rotation instead of an 8-player rotation. But Klavšar and Denzel Aberdeen, hit a couple of big threes in that game. The huge play in that game, as you know, is when Thomas Paul had that tap back to Denzel and hit that open three. And I know Auburn fans were, livid that there wasn't an over the back call there, but Hall played really well also in that game and, did all the dirty work inside and played really hard.
Yeah, he really did. And you covered Billy Donovan. He did such an amazing job making Florida the best basketball team in the program in the country for a while. They won back-to-back championships, multiple Final Fours, played for 3 national titles. But what's Todd Golden done? What's made him so special and such a great fit? Because it was tough. Mike White did a solid job, but it's tough to follow a legend. Billy is one. The court's named after him. But what's made Todd Golden such a great fit in your mind?
Well, I think he's got a modern approach, the analytics approach that he and the staff have provided. And I think also in recruiting, he's, done a really good job, in terms of looking globally. Alex Condon from Australia, I mentioned Klavšar is from Slovenia. So they've gone beyond the American borders. He had mentioned that coming in 3 years ago as one of those things that, one of those areas that feels like, and he got that from, obviously from his time in San Francisco and St. Mary's under Randy Bennett, global recruiting, because they were very successful at St. Mary's, finding players from Australia, finding players from Europe. And Todd has done a good job with that well, because, Alex Condon, to me, is an all-SEC player. He was an all-SEC freshman. And you get a kid like that from Australia that maybe not a lot of people know about. That's certainly a good way to recruit and, bring in talent.
It really is. No question about it. And now, we were kind of talking about it going to break. Andy Katz has the Gators number 2 in his poll. They're definitely going to be in the top 5, if not the top 4. The SEC, this is as good as I've ever seen it. It reminds me of the 85 Big East, Kevin. Yeah. But your thoughts on where Florida still got a legit shot to win this conference in the regular season and to be on the 1 line.
True. You and I are thinking along the same wavelength. Growing up in New York, I was a huge St. John's fan in 85, the year they made it, along with Villanova and Georgetown. And, of course, Villanova had that unbelievable upset. Yeah, I could see 3 SEC teams, depending on how the bracket shakes out, making the Final Four, and that would be something. Because, you take a look at this team, you've got probably about 4 or 5 programs that are Final Four capable, including Florida. You got Tennessee, you got Alabama, you got Auburn. I think those 4 programs are definitely programs that could make it in there. And if I'm forgetting someone, forgive me. Texas A&M and Missouri, I think, are definitely Sweet 16 level teams, and you just never know how the tournament shakes out too, because everyone's path is different. But I do feel like, this is as strong as the league has ever been. Obviously this started with Mike Slive. It's continued with Greg Sankey. They brought in, Mike Trengees from the Big East, certainly to help. And I think when you look at it now, the level of coaching, the level of talent, the resources, the money, obviously brought in from the football contracts. They've used it towards basketball, and you've got, there are no off nights. I mean, Florida goes to Mississippi State on Tuesday night. They're a top 25 team on the road. I mean, for the amount of energy that they expended in upsetting Auburn on the road, I could see them, turning around and, maybe not playing as well and losing there. And yet, even if that does happen, you're not going to drop much in the metrics because the league is so strong.
Well, and the win over Auburn on Saturday was not their first, but their second win over a number one ranked team this season. 2 wins over a number one ranked team in one season.
Yeah, no question. And, if you think about it, right, they beat Tennessee by 30.
Yeah.
And Auburn, they were up 21 in the second half. So on the road, I mean, so, it's amazing. Florida came into this year 2-17 against number one teams, and there were only 2 wins against number one teams were in the tournament, the postseason. Billy Donovan beat Duke in 2000, and then they beat Ohio State in the 2017 NCAA Finals. So this is the first time this year that they've won a number one game in the regular season against a number one team, and the first time they've beaten the number one team on the road. So,
wow.
It's been a historic season in that regard for Todd Golden, and certainly he and his staff deserve a lot of credit, for building a team that's capable of doing this. Now, can they finish the job? You've been around, we've all been around basketball long enough to know that high seeds can lose in March. Anything can happen. But for now, they're putting themselves in very good position to have a high seed and make a deep run in the NCAA tournament.
And before you go, we're talking to Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun, Gannett News Service, who covers the Florida Gators athletics, better than any. And Billy Donovan very well. You've been around him a lot. There's always been speculation about him coming back to college. He's had some moderate success in the NBA, not anything great, kind of like his mentor, Rick Pitino. Rick came back to the college game. Do you ever see Billy maybe coming back?
I would never say never, but from talking to people that are close to him, I think he enjoys the NBA lifestyle and coaching at that level a little different than college. He was I think he was burned out at the end and dealing with all the other stuff that you have to deal with as a college court away from actual coaching basketball, where he feels like the NBA level, it's more purely coaching than dealing with the ancillary stuff. And who knows how he would deal with NIL too. I don't think he would deal with that very well. Billy definitely likes structure, and he likes, players. And to Todd's credit, I think he's handled that pretty well in terms of, adapting to kind of the new age of college sports. I don't know if Billy would adapt. I see him more as like, that kind of Jay Wright, Roy Williams, like, where they like to coach, they like to teach. So I don't know if he would come back to college for that reason, but you never say never in these situations because you don't know how the future is going to unfold, for him in Chicago. And, he'll be 60 years old, I believe,
Crazy.
In May, which is amazing because you think of him as Billy the Kid, right? And but I think he's a young 60. He's in good shape, and he might want to continue his career another 10 or 15 years like Rick Pitino. Who knows?
Yeah. And
big week in Gainesville this week, too, because Florida baseball opening up a home series with Air Force. The college baseball season gets underway this week.
Yeah, no question. And, you got back-to-back College World Series appearances under Kevin O'Sullivan, who, led Florida to 9 in 18 years, which is pretty amazing. It's been an amazing run for him there. And, the last 2 years, they've had 2 generational sluggers in Wyatt Langford and Jack Caglione. And they've gotten to the finals of the College World Series 2 years ago. Last year, they got to the semifinals. So this year, it's going to be interesting. I think when the way he's built the team this year, it's going to be a little less slug and a little more, trying to manufacture some runs. They brought in a transfer from Stetson, Kyle Jones in center field that they're very high on. He's kind of a speedy guy, a guy that can get on base and make things happen. And I think the big question too will be that the pitching. Can Liam Peterson, take a step forward as a sophomore and be a true ace? And But they've got a lot of good pieces. They got a lot of talent there. They're going to be in the mix at the end. They always are under Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'd expect to see this team, in position to go to Omaha again this year.
Well, great stuff, Kevin, and let everybody know how to follow you. You do a great job covering the Gators, and it's great to have you back.
Yeah, Gatorsports.com and Gainesville.com, and it's good to be on with you guys.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Kevin. All right, Kevin Brockway there. We got to get a break in. We're going to wrap it all up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a wreck northbound on the Tennessee River Bridge, I-65. You need to be in the right lane before you get to the north end of the bridge to keep traffic moving there. That one is an injury type. We got one at Drake and Artie. They've got Drake closed completely right now while they do an investigation. A very serious, life-threatening injury in that one. At Shields and Jordan reported with an injury, still working on it. Officers, construction workers, and first responders are putting their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. You can make it safer for them. Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at jetsuperstore.com.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Gunner's Landing is one of the Tennessee Valley's finest golf experiences. Just 35 minutes from downtown Huntsville, Gunner's Landing's 18-hole championship Jewel is open to the public 7 days a week. Located in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, Gunner's Landing offers you a golf experience like no other. With beautiful Lake Gunnersville views throughout the round, Gunner's Landing is golf the way nature intended. Gunner's Landing's Club Repair Shop offers a full range of services, including re-gripping and adjusting the lofts and lies of your clubs, even putters. Since the work is done in-house, your clubs will be returned to you in a timely manner. Unmatched in the North Alabama is Gunner's Landing. Schedule your tee time today at gunnerslanding.com. That's gunnerslanding.com.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, 8:54. Your tomorrow's headlines today. Don't forget, coming up later in the week, the Von Braun Center is going to be very busy on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. State wrestling takes over the Von Braun Center Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So that's coming up. And then regional basketball gets underway starting tomorrow, I believe,
that's right.
at Wallace State, Hanceville, and Jack State.
Yeah.
So we've got regional basketball coming up. You got state wrestling coming up. And I believe this year is the first year, if I remember right, looking at the stuff, that the girls, the ladies, will have state wrestling as a part of the big state wrestling event, I believe. If I looked right, I believe they will have some girls state wrestling as well. So could be an interesting time at the Von Braun Center this week.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of traffic. Watch it.
A lot of traffic, yes. People coming in, people coming out.
Yeah.
So we did talk about it, and we kind of alluded to it last week. Try to see if we still have music on. All right, there you go. I guess we're done. Mike Woodson will officially step down at the end of the season for Indiana.
Yeah,
so that became official over the weekend.
Retire.
Yes.
Is
Let the names fly.
Chris Beard watch.
Let the names fly. First prominent college basketball job opening.
Haven't been able to find that guy to follow Bob Knight, but I still think Chris Beard is the perfect candidate. We'll see if Ole Miss steps up. What happens, because Ole Miss is having a really good year themselves.
As far as winning percentages go, Kelvin Sampson, 74% winning percentage since the firing of Bob Knight. Mike Woodson, 61%. Second best winning percentage in Indiana since the firing of Bob Knight.
But they fired,
Yeah. Then Mike Davis, then Tom Crean, then Archie Miller, then Dan Dockich.
They did.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
1 in 3 adults in America have prediabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it.